welcome back to Let's Vibe Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be diving into Ubbi Dubbi and what went down at the first festival back. I'm going to be giving you guys the full inside scoop and all of the tea as to what went down and my review and overall impressions of the event. So without further ado, let's vibe into today's episode. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me this week. This episode is a little later than usual on our typical Tuesday Vibes Day, but it's all good. Hello, I hope you guys are doing well from wherever you're listening from. I wanted to do this episode as a full review of Ubbi Dubbi. I was doing full reviews on my podcast just to kind of give you guys the inside scoop. I feel like there's so much to cover with the festival and actually what goes down that it should be a full podcast episode. I did do a recap on my YouTube channel. So that's like the Spark Notes version where I talk about some of the main things that went down and my overall thoughts and impressions of the event. It's a long video still, so definitely go check that out if you want the short version of it. But I'm going to go all in on the rest of the stuff in today's episode. So grab a drink, grab a snack. We're going to get into it and everything like that. If you are new to this podcast, hi, hello, welcome to the Vibe Tribe, welcome to Let's Vibe Podcast. I am so happy to have you here, and if you do like today's episode, feel free to share it with a friend. There is lots of chatter going around as to what actually went down at Ubbi Dubbi, so I am here to let you guys in and give you the 411 as to how this first festival back went and how I think that this is going to impact the rest of the festivals to come. But first, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, all of those things. And we are going to dive straight into this week's vibe check. If you are new to my podcast, I do a quick little vibe check just to check in, see how we're feeling. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet because the main star of today is Ubbi Dubbi. But let's all get together. Let's get calm, cool, collected. And we're going to take some 3 collective deep breaths together. And then I'm just going to check in with you guys. So go ahead and take that first inhale in. And exhale it back out. Second one in and exhale it back out. Last one in. Hold it. Release in 3, 2, 1. Exhale it back out. Oh, I always feel so good after doing that. So typically I ask some questions just to check in and then have you guys check in with yourself. Like I said, I want to keep it short and sweet. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Honestly, going to that festival rejuvenated me. It lit a fire under me. Honestly, I feel so good, and it feels so good that I can come back and just work on getting this content out to you guys and getting this all up and running. I just feel so excited about it all. So I'm excited to share it all with you guys, and I hope you guys are excited as well. Things have just been going really great. I feel like I was really stressed going into Ubbi Dubbi because there's just a lot going on. But now that it's happened, I feel just like a release, and it's just like, all right, I can do this. I can be a festival content creator. I can be a life coach. There's going to be some exciting things coming in the life coaching realm, by the way. So stay tuned for that next week. And so I just feel really, really good this week, and I'm just getting back into the routine. I can quarantine and work from home until I can get tested. But otherwise, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I want to keep this going. 3 things that I am grateful for this week. I am grateful for Chase, my sweet little honey bun Chase. I never call him that. It just came out. We had the most amazing weekend at Ubbi Dubbi. It was our first festival together, and it was just absolutely amazing to get to see each other in our different sides and just kind of vibe out and have a good time. Him and I have been dating since March of last year, officially since August. I think we're coming up on 9 months soon. And it just feels really good that we finally got to share this experience with one another. And there were definitely some downs the first day, but day 2 was just incredible. And we were just saying how if every festival can be like day 2, it would just be great. You know what I mean? So it was really great to just share that with him. And we had been daydreaming about going to festivals together for so long, and we finally got to have that experience. So feeling really grateful for him and just being there through all the ups and the downs and everything. And then I'm also grateful for you guys. I got to meet a lot of you guys at the festival this past weekend, and it just reminded me why I do this and who I serve and who supports me and everything like that. And so I am really grateful for anyone that came up and said hi to me. It was just absolutely amazing to get to meet some of you guys, and I can't wait to keep on meeting you guys at some of the upcoming festivals. And then last thing I'm grateful for are my parents. I get to see them super soon, you guys. I am so excited to finally see them for my birthday. It's going to be so great. Just 2 more weekends and I get to see them. So I'm super grateful for them and just can't wait to hug them and see them and everything like that. So the last thing I will say is the song of the week. One of my favorite sets, and I'll talk about this, is LPGOB. One of my favorite sets from the weekend was LPGOB. You guys have to check her out if you can. But she played this remix that I already had saved, but I just became more obsessed with it. And it is Love Tonight by Vintage Culture and Kinko Franco. It was their remix of it. The original artist is xoxo. I don't know how to pronounce that right, but it's just so good. Check out my day 2 vlog. You guys will see that moment that LPGOB had. I also posted the full video to Twitter, and it was just amazing. And I'll talk more about LPGOB, but I'm like the biggest LPGOB stan as of right now. And so, like I said, this episode is all about Ubbi Dubbi. So let's get into it. Just so you guys also know, this episode is brought to you by The Stage. So if you like other festival-related content, feel free to check out The Stage at stagehoppers.com. You can find other podcasts, other festival footage, vlogs, things like that, just to get more festival content in your mix and support other creators. So definitely go check out The Stage at stagehoppers.com. If you did happen to watch my recap video, it might get a little bit repetitive, but I just wanted to go in further detail and talk about some things. And I obviously wanted to have a shorter video just to talk about some of the highlights and whatnot from this festival. So we're going all in. Let's do it. Let's get ready to go. So diving right on in, I kind of wanted to talk about like the planning and preparation for the festival, the actual festival, and kind of now where we are at now, and then also some pros and cons, some personal lessons learned and stuff like that. We drove up from Austin, Texas. It was going to be about a 2.5 hour drive. This event was in Ennis, Texas at the Texas Motorplex. We had booked a hotel in Red Oak, I believe. It was going to be at a Motel 6. So we headed out around like 8 or 9 o'clock, and we were hoping to check in. Check-in was supposedly around 2 o'clock. They said it was probably pretty likely that we would be able to check in. And so we made the drive up. We made our way to Ennis, Texas. We stopped in Waxahachie, if that's how you pronounce it, to get some food. And then we went to Motel 6 to check in. And lo and behold, you guys, my reservation was nowhere to be found. I said that they had overbooked the hotel, and so they had sent out some cancellation emails. I had booked through Expedia, and this has never happened to me before. So they were basically saying they had canceled it. They had told Expedia, and then Expedia should have gotten to us. In Expedia, it was still showing that I had a reservation. It was still showing that I had a reservation and I was meant to check in. So we were completely lost, and Chase was calling and just making sure. And like we tried to get on support with Expedia, and then he tried to talk to the hotel manager. The hotel manager wasn't available. And this was at like 1 o'clock, I want to say. And we were just like freaking out. I started crying because I don't mess up. I'm such a perfectionist with these things. And I triple checked, double checked, I thought. And we had nowhere to stay. And so I freaked out and Chase freaked out. And then he had gone inside to go to the bathroom at the hotel. And I just started calling. And I found one hotel on Expedia that said that they had a room available. So I just called them, and they were in DeSoto, Texas, which is still outside of Dallas. It was about 30 minutes away from the actual venue. And I just told them, like, do you guys happen to have any rooms available? We are in a pickle, basically. And she said that they didn't have any rooms available. But then I was like, hey, I saw it on Expedia. It says that you guys have rooms available. Do you have anything available? Like, are you sure? And so she checked her cancellations, and lo and behold, they had it. And $575 later, we had a place to stay. And so that was pretty nerve-wracking. And then she told us that our check-in wasn't until 3 o'clock. And I wanted to get to the venue by 2. And so that plan was completely thrown out the window. And so then from that point, we got to the hotel and we just hung out in our car. I was able to get ready. I had like my makeup and everything. So I just did my hair, did my makeup, and then we just waited until we could check in. Then we checked in, got our outfits on, got ready for the festival, and then we were able to be out on the road. And so that whole situation was a mess. A lot of people asked me if I was going to camp. I did not want to camp personally just because I don't trust Texas weather. It did rain the day before on that Friday, so a lot of people had to set up camp after the rain and when it was all muddy and stuff like that. And so I know a couple people had to do that. I know some other people that they just ended up checking in on Saturday. And so I think it probably would have been better to camp. And now that I know it was a good experience from what I've heard from people, I will definitely think about camping next year potentially if we were to go, just because of all the traffic issues and parking issues and stuff that I'm now going to talk about. I think had we camped, we would have avoided a lot of these things because this venue, you guys, was in legit the middle of nowhere. It was just off of like the highway. It's normally like a drag race place, I think, and it was just in the middle of nowhere. And so what we had done is that we left probably around like 4 o'clock, maybe a little bit before 4. We got on the road and the maps took us this complete back way to get to the venue because the actual entrance to the venue was already backed up from the highway. So we go this back way and we're going down these roads and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, this is really weird. And we get to the actual venue and there's no signage for parking. And we were like, okay, that's weird. Like, where do we go? And so we were following all these cars. We followed the cars down this one path. That wasn't the right way. And so we flip around and then we end up at the campground entrance. And there was just absolutely no signage, no people directing until we finally ran into someone and they were like, oh, you go this way for GA parking. So we go to GA parking, we get in line, and then we realize we are in this one line that is funneling into the big line. And we are like, oh my gosh, this line is so long. How long is this going to take? We have people we want to see, you know what I mean? And we end up getting out of the car. I end up getting out of the car just to see like it funnels all the way down. And then there's just like the highway basically right there. And there's just cars you could see for miles. And it was around 4:20-ish, I want to say, we got into line. And then we were just there for the long haul. And it just took forever. I ended up having to get out of the car and go to the porta potty that was like at this construction site, which was probably illegal or something. And we just ended up using that. And a lot of other people did. And then got back in the car. And then I was refreshing Twitter, but it was hard to see updates because of service. But then Disco Donnie was like, we're working on it. We're getting more lanes open. We're switching to cash. And a lot of people were like, but we don't have cash. Like, what is going on, basically? And then someone tweeted at him saying, just make it free. And then that makes it go by so much faster. So then Disco Donnie ends up making the parking free and you start to see things speed along. And so then we finally funnel into the main line. And just looking behind me, there's so many cars still. And same thing ahead, there's so many cars. And it was very confusing because there was like cars going this way. If you're watching me on YouTube, there was cars going one way away from the venue, but they all had to like flip around basically to get into that line to go to the other venue. Because I guess there was like a turn lane that wasn't open or something to be able to like funnel them into the parking. It was a mess, basically, is what I'm getting at. And I saw a lot of tweets of people that had been in line since like 3 o'clock. And they still haven't gotten in. And we kind of got the lucky end of the stick because this line was able to funnel us into the main line. So that, I think, sped up our process a lot faster. And then we got to the front of the line and the guy didn't charge us. So then we just followed the road and got parked and everything. And our walk was a good distance from the venue. I'm not complaining because we were late. It was just a far walk. So I ended up having to put a pin on my iPhone map so that way we knew exactly where we needed to come back. And so we probably got out of our car maybe 5:15, 5:30, I want to say. I think I say it in the vlogs what time it is. And so we make our way towards the entrance, and as we're walking up, I try and get my Clear Health Pass up because for this event, it was either you have a vaccination card or you have the Clear Health Pass where you did a health survey beforehand, or you did a general health screening survey at the gate. And so as we're walking up, I'm getting the Clear app up. It's not loading for me, but luckily I had taken a screenshot of the health pass beforehand. That way I could just show it that way. And I'm really glad I did that because that helped a lot. And we're walking up and we noticed that there's not really a distinguish between the lanes. It all is just Clear Health Pass basically. And you see a lot of people wearing the Clear Health Pass shirts and stuff like that. We almost enter those gates and then we realized we have to go to box office. So we had to go to box office, get our tickets and everything like that. So then we got situated, we got back in line. And as we're walking down at the lanes, you see people with COVID dogs. And so it was on the website that there were COVID dogs. And all you had to do was have your hand out and don't have anything in it. And the dog just smells it. And if it doesn't smell anything, you're good. If it does smell something, then they take you out of line and they test you. I didn't see any of that happen. So I'm curious if that happens for anyone else where they had a friend that had to get out of line, but I didn't experience anything or see anything. And so then we keep on walking. And then at the front, they just asked for my health pass. And so I thought going into this festival that there was going to be 3 lanes. One for people that are vaccinated and show their cards. Another for people with a Clear Health Pass. And then finally a last one that was just going to do a general health screening on site. That was not clear. Everyone went through the same process. And I heard some people even had a vaccination card and like they didn't even ask to see the card. They honestly just looked at the health passes. And if you didn't have a health pass, then you had to answer this questionnaire on a paper that was basically like, have you had any of these symptoms? Have you been exposed? Stuff like that. And if you answered no, then you could go, which wasn't really like a great checks and balance. You know what I mean? Because anyone could just say no. And now we know that a couple people potentially might have gone to Ubbi Dubbi with COVID. There wasn't really like a way to kind of verify that this was actually a safe event is what I'm getting at, which makes me a little apprehensive and nervous. And it's just making me focus on taking care of myself now and making sure I'm good to go now. Because that's a little concerning, you know what I mean? And so we end up getting through the gates, and everyone's wearing their mask through this part. I want to make that clear. Everyone is wearing their masks at this point. And then we separate off and people go to GA security. I go to VIP security. I heard from GA security it wasn't that thorough. I experienced the same thing at VIP security. They had me walk through the metal detector with my backpack, and then he just took a peek in the backpack, and that was it. No pat down, no wand, nothing. They had a guy on standby with a wand, but he didn't do anything. And like, I guess my day one outfit, they could just tell like I was fine. And that was also like, there's metal to it and stuff. Very interesting security. And I think it was because of COVID that we didn't see pat downs and stuff like that. And so I think that's why we didn't have that happen, or people touching your stuff to like look through it. So I thought that was all very interesting and different. Then we get into the festival and I'm just kind of like taking it all in, you know what I mean? So I'm taking it in. I'm just feeling the vibes, being back at a festival. It feels so weird seeing so many people. And we start to get situated. We start to head over to Destructo. And then as I'm walking around, I'm just slowly noticing that no one is wearing masks. Very few people are wearing masks. And I'm like, what is going on? I thought masks were required. I'm such a rule follower that I was just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And I didn't really see too much staff like walking around and trying to enforce it. I didn't really see too much staff walking around at all. Like, you'd think that if masks were required, you'd have people like kind of set up just to remind people to keep wearing their masks. But I guess that wasn't something that was apparent to have, you know what I mean? And so we make our way over to the Zoom room stage, and I'm just feeling honestly overwhelmed by the amount of people. I was so surprised by how many people there actually were, and then people not wearing masks. And so we make it to Zoom room. And that's when we kind of just like settle into everything with that. And so that was kind of like the entrance into the festival, and, you know, realizing that people weren't wearing masks. I did also hear that shuttles went great for people getting to the event. I forgot to mention that. Shuttles went great for some people, and then shuttles also did get kind of stuck on the day one of the festival. But I heard day two went a lot more smoothly for the parking situation. It went better for us, I know for sure. I didn't hear too much feedback about Uber, so if you took an Uber to and from, I'd love to hear your experience, because normally Ubers are a shit show from Disco Donnie events, and so I'd really be interested to see how your experience was. And so then once we got into the venue and everything like that, and realizing that masks weren't really being enforced, it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to keep my mask on, and I'm just going to try and stay safe. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I did the rest of the time. I wore my mask the whole time on day one and day two, and just tried to stay safe and everything like that. And anyone that talked to me also put on their mask, which was really nice. I noticed a lot of vendors were also not wearing a mask. And so I think I talked about this in the recap video. My thoughts on it is that if one person gets away with not wearing a mask, it's a domino effect, you know what I mean? And so I wish I would have been there at the beginning to see how enforced they were trying to be with the mask, and when they kind of gave up with the mask, you know what I mean? Because like I said, if one person gets away with it, then the rest of the people get away with it. And so that's what I think happened here with the mask. And then day two, they tried to fix it because they were getting a lot of heat on social media, and people were still not wearing masks. So it's very concerning that happened, but when you don't enforce it and there's no consequences to not wearing a mask, people are just going to do what they're going to do. You know what I mean? I'll share more of my thoughts on what I actually thought, like moving forward and stuff, but I'm just telling you guys basically this is how it was. Some other things to talk about the venue. So the venue, like I said, is in the middle of nowhere. It's at the Texas Motorplex. They basically used like the outside area of the Motorplex for the venue. I really enjoyed this venue. I liked it a lot better than Ubbi Dubbi 2019, which was in Fort Worth, and it was at Panther Island Pavilion. I felt like that venue was way too small and narrow and didn't fit a whole lot of people. I felt like this venue was really great and spaced out and allowed for a lot of people to roam freely. I was very curious to see if this event was actually 75% capacity. It did not feel like 75% capacity. It felt like 100% capacity. I talked about it. If I put up a video between like Freaky Deaky and Ubbi Dubbi, I feel like it would look exactly the same. Overall, I did really enjoy this venue. It had a lot of interactive components. I liked the stage setup. There was a little bit of sound bleed, but it really just depended on where you stood at the stage. There was also some echo towards the back of certain stages that was like not pleasant to hear. So we kind of had to move around just to get in a good spot for the sound. Really liked VIP. VIP was really great, having those bathrooms, and there was different like amenities in there, and having separate bars and stuff like that was really nice to have those areas. And the viewing decks were really cool. So definitely enjoyed that whole experience and recommend it to people. Especially having those bathrooms separate from everything is just prime. Weather. The weather was great. Weather was amazing. I thought it was going to be cold and wet, and it was just perfect. It was perfect weather. It did get cold at night, but we ended up bringing a jacket and putting it in the locker. But when you're in the crowd, it got really hot. So I was pretty happy with the weather and everything. It was muddy because it did rain the day before, but it wasn't a big deal. I wore my Doc Martens, and they gave me a lot of blisters, I'm not going to lie. But I wore my Doc Martens, and that kind of braved the mud, so it wasn't too bad. And then day two, I wore my Demania white boots, and those are always really comfortable and easy to walk in. But by day two, a lot of the mud had dried up, so that wasn't too bad, and weather was perfect. I think any hotter would have been uncomfortable, and any colder would have been too cold, so I thought it was perfect weather. The only complaint I really had about the venue was that there was just no trash cans around. Like, I am curious how that venue looked after the fact, because there was no trash cans. Like, it was so hard to find a trash can to throw anything away. So it would have been nice to have like trash cans or recycling or composting or something. That just really concerned me from like an environmental aspect that this event just was not that great for that. So that was something that I would provide on feedback, but maybe they had some budget cuts or something. I don't know. As for the sets I saw, let's talk about the music. What I was most excited about was the music. And so day one, like I said, we got in a little later. So I saw Destructo. I saw the end of Ghastly. He did a little B2B with Joyride for a moment. Seven Lions, Adventure Club, and then a tiny bit of Cascade. I also saw a tiny bit of Riot 10, which was surprising. Destructo didn't really do a whole lot for me. It was kind of okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't really do much for me. I was also eating chicken tenders, getting situated, but the moments I did see was kind of good, but part of it, I was just kind of like, it was all right. End of Ghastly was super dope, seeing him go back to back with Joyride. Joyride was a really good time. I felt he was a little bit easing back into it. I think he got a little too excited on some of the drops, and he messed up a couple of times, but I get it. We've been in a pandemic, and coming back to live events is so exciting and stuff, but it was really cool seeing his set at Sunset with like the moon, and it was just beautiful. And just looking around at Sunset with that stage and Joyride with some bass house moment was just really fantastic. My favorite set of the night was Seven Lions. You guys know the man can do no wrong. Seven Lions was absolutely incredible. I think hit this set compared to his Imagine set are two of my all-time favorite sets of his. He played a lot of like unreleased stuff. He played a lot of new stuff that we hadn't gotten to see live, and it was just really awesome to see him be back in a festival and just enjoy that. I was just singing along every single word. Chase was super impressed. He had never seen Seven Lions. I was just the happiest gal ever with that set. We ended the night with Adventure Club. I was super excited to see Adventure Club. It was only one of them because I think one of them is in Canada, so I think he had a hard time coming probably to the States. So saw half of Adventure Club. Leighton is always amazing. It was melodic and bassy and just a vibe. Honestly, a vibe. I wish we could have stayed the whole time. We ended up leaving 15 to 20 minutes early just to beat traffic, and that totally helped us beat traffic and get out of there safely. On the way out, we did see a tiny bit of Cascade, and we saw We Don't Stop and Disarm You live, and that felt really good to see that live. I hadn't seen Cascade in a very long time, and so that was just all the feels and the memes, just getting to see Disarm You live just hits different, especially after a pandemic. So definitely my highlight of day one was Seven Lions for sure. I did miss Omnom, Midas, Kayvon, and Vanessa and Wooly, so definitely going to have to catch those people another time. It was unfortunate, but it is what it is. Day two, we saw a little bit of Ghost Data. We saw a little bit of Junk Food. Then we saw Enzo, Yolanda Be Cool, Escuche, Valentino Khan, LPGOB, Noizu. We saw a little bit of Carnage. We were getting food, and he just happened to be on. We saw Griffin DJ set the intro. We saw Shiba-san. We saw the beginning of Millennium, and then we saw Green Velvet. Enzo was really dope. I would love to see him again. I hope he's on like an Electric Forest lineup. I learned that Yolanda Be Cool is not a girl. I was shocked to find that out. Escuche was a recommendation from a subscriber and Emma, and that was also a really good vibe. Definitely like tech house moment. That was great. Valentino Khan is always a good high energy set. Chase had never seen him. We were with our friends, and that was really good. My highlight of the weekend, though, honestly, LPGOB, you guys. She killed it. Her set is absolutely incredible. If you love house music, you will love her set. She plays the piano live and just like adds piano solos, piano like effects over the house music, and it just takes you on a journey, and the visuals are colorful, and it just gave me so much like hope and just felt like such a good cleanse. And like her energy, she is just an absolute performer, and so she's amazing. I absolutely love her. Noisy, we saw a little bit of, he's always a good time. Griffin DJ set, I want to go back and listen to because he had a couple of like little cute intro moments, and then he dropped like some headbanging stuff, and I'm like, are we at Griffin? Is this real life? Like, it was so weird. So I want to go back and listen to that. I know someone uploaded that set. Shiba-san was Chase's favorite set. I always will love Shiba-san. It's always a good time. That was definitely Chase's favorite set of the weekend. He was looking forward to that set. We did see the beginning of Millennium. Millennium knew I was only going to be there for the intro because this man dropped the Crawl Out of Love intro from his Awake tour, and he also dropped 2 different edits of Crawl Out of Love, and he dropped the last one into Throwing Elbows, and I was just like, millennials were in for a real treat on that night. And I listened back to it, and I'm just like, I wish we stayed for the full set, but Chase had never seen Green Velvet, so I knew we had to go see Green Velvet. I told Chase, if we see Green Velvet, I get Millennium full set at Imagine. So that is where I get to cry and be a puddle and just vibe out then. Green Velvet set, though, was fuego. I tweeted that out. It was so good. He just killed it. I got to hear Barbie live. And when he played Barbie, everyone went nuts. I was shuffling. I was having a moment. Everyone was having a moment. You could just feel that energy. I have a video of Barbie on my vlog. I don't have like the initial drop, but I have like the end of it a little bit. So definitely go check that out. It was a vibe. It was overall a vibe. So I went on a big soapbox in the recap video about my overall thoughts and feelings. I'm going to reiterate some of the things here. I was getting a lot of questions on if I had anxiety at the festival by people not wearing masks. And I did, to be honest, I really did. I kind of just forgot about it in the back of my head, and I just kept on wearing my mask and being safe and sanitizing. Just because I do have the first shot of the vaccine. Not that that fully protects me, but I do have the first shot of the vaccine. So I was like, I'm just going to keep wearing my mask and just stay safe, because I do want to be able to get that second shot. And I do have some plans coming up to see my parents and stuff. They're both vaccinated, so they're fine. So I did have some anxiety, but then it kind of like it being back at a festival, it just felt like old times. And in old times, I was the one to wear a mask towards the end of the night, typically because of my allergies. I would always put on a mask, so it didn't feel any different. I did get asked what percentage of people I thought were wearing a mask, and I would say it was more people not wearing a mask than wearing a mask. And so, I was a little bit apprehensive and anxious over it, but I kind of just put it in the back of my mind and just did whatever I could to keep myself safe. And so there was not really anything to be done about it. You know, if they're not enforcing it, people, and there's no consequences, people are just going to not wear a mask. You know what I mean? And so it was pretty disappointing, and I'm sure it was disappointing for a lot of the people at home. However, it was definitely on the festival organizer not to have a plan in place to be enforcing it, whether it was going to take having volunteers to enforce it or having staff to enforce it. I don't know what it could take. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people now are nervous and anxious as to whether festivals can happen moving forward. And I personally think that they'll be okay. I don't think that this is going to prolong anything personally, just because being in the state of Texas, things have been open and normal since last year. They also lifted the mask mandate and cases have been dropping since then. So I personally just think that it's going to be okay. And if anything, this is going to give more time for these other festivals to learn and to tighten up their health and safety precautions, to work with their state and local officials to ensure that they can happen. I think these festivals are really dependent on a state-to-state basis and a festival-to-festival basis. So if you're in California waiting for a festival to happen, I truly don't think that whatever happened at Ubbi Dubbi is going to affect California. I think the state of California and whatever city that this festival or event gets hosted in will more likely then affect that event from happening. Because it really just depends on a state per state basis. I mean, we see these events happen in Florida where masks are not required, but they're encouraged. And we saw what happened with abduction. Same thing that happened with like EDC Las Vegas getting pushed back. That wasn't because of what happened at abduction. That was because the county officials did not want to move forward with the EDC based on the health and safety that they had laid out. So it's really going to be up to the festival to be working with the state and local government to make sure that these events can happen and that they have really solid health and safety plans to plan for everything. I will be going to Seismic Dance event in a month now, and they are requiring either a negative test or a vaccination card to enter the event. And so you have to get it, you have to show it to get a wristband. You have to take a negative test to get a wristband. And so it's gonna be interesting to kind of compare and contrast. Masks are required there as well. They said that they were a pod event, but I'm not too sure if it's still a pod event. So we'll see how that goes. And I'll definitely report back on that event. As for some other things that I've been seeing a lot of, and that is this whole conversation of, is it plur to attend these events? Is it plur to be bashing people for going to these events? And I've been seeing a lot of artists and just crowd bashing in general and just wishing death and sickness upon the people that attended Ubbi Dubbi, which is totally just not okay to be wishing that upon people. And I've talked about this in something else where there's just a feeling of people are wanting this to fail and people are waiting for things to fail. And it's just like a weird energy and vibe that is just not what I'm about, honestly. And I think while it was unfortunate and it wasn't perfect for this event to not go as planned with people wearing masks, I think we can still take some takeaways from it to ensure that other events can happen. And I think these events are still going to happen personally, and it's a matter of making sure that people are encouraged to wear their masks and that there's consequences if they don't wear their masks. And so we'll see what happens with the rest of these events leading up and coming up. I know that there's like Dirty Bird Campin'. I'm not too sure about their health and safety regulations. There's SMF Tampa, which is another Disco Donnie event. There is Forbidden Kingdom. There's Skyline. Those last three are all happening in Florida, so I'm not too sure what the health and safety protocols are for that one and how those ones will go. And so I think when it also comes to bashing people for attending events, I mean, I got called out on my Instagram. This random girl had DM'd me and she wasn't even following me. And she just basically like said, imagine going to a festival during a pandemic. And I just ignored her. And then she followed me just to keep an eye on me. And she has no idea who I am. She just sees a platform I have and thinks I'm just another influencer or something. And I told her that like she could just unfollow me, honestly, because I'm going to keep on posting this stuff to help people. At the end of the day, people are going to be going to these events. So I'm trying to do my best to promote a healthy way of going to these events and to be safe to go to these events. I think a lot of people are using this opportunity as a time to bash other people and to assert a certain authoritative, like conscious police or something. Like everyone has been like, oh, it's not very plur of you to be going to a festival in the pandemic. Like a girl on TikTok told me to leave the community because I went to a festival during a pandemic. And I'm just like, that's just not nice or respectful. And this event was allowed to happen. And so I went because I wanted to be able to document it and see how an event could happen. And while, like I said, it wasn't perfect, there's definitely some things to learn. Same thing happened for Illenium. A lot of people were coming for him on Twitter and they're not actually fans of him. They just wanted an opportunity just to spread more hate. And I think a lot of people just have more time on their hands to be spreading this hate and to be judging people from afar. And it can just be so draining energy-wise to just be so focused on other people. Like, at some point, just focus on yourself and do your best and just hope for the best. I know the media tends to instill a lot of fear and anxiety that causes a lot of people to feel the need to call out other people. But what I will say is that you can't control anyone else. As much as you can just try and bash people and make people think that going to a festival is wrong during a pandemic and try and enforce some guilty conscience on them, they're still going to make the choice to probably attend this festival because they love music festivals. They miss music festivals. So if they have an opportunity to go, they're probably going to take it. And so I'm going to do my best to just set a standard and be a role model as to how to go to these events safely. I wore my mask the whole weekend and I had a great time. You know what I mean? I'm going to self-quarantine and stay at home until I can get tested and just hope for the best and make sure that I'm good to go. You know what I mean? So I think that we have a long way to go and there's only going to be more and more events to happen. And if you don't feel safe going, then that's totally okay with you. If you also know that you have someone that you are potentially going to put at risk, then stay home, you know? And so I think we're at a point too in the pandemic where we know the people that are at risk, right? And we know those people that are getting vaccinated to be able to fight this virus. So at a certain point, things are just going to keep on opening up as vaccinations continue to go up and cases keep on going down. I think we are still navigating this. And while I'm not diminishing the effect of the pandemic or that it's ending or anything like that, but we are just kind of learning how to live with it, and we're learning to do our best with it. And that is just something that we can take away from this event. I think also it's going to be hard to gauge if something is actually going to happen from this event, just because things are so normal here in Texas. Things have been normal here since last year. Like, people have been going out since last year. People were going out in Dallas last weekend, and it was just like completely packed. We drove through Dallas this past weekend, and everyone was out. You know what I mean? So how different is it having a bunch of people packed in bars compared to an outside venue having a festival, you know? So it'll be interesting to see what comes back, and I just hope that people can take care of themselves, and that they did take care of themselves, and they're getting tested and just making sure that they're not spreading it anymore. The only thing I really won't tolerate from this event, besides the people not wearing masks, was people attending this event knowingly that they had COVID. That is something that is really upsetting to me, and just completely irresponsible. And it's just from what I've heard, I haven't actually seen proof of someone actually went, but I can only hope that will all be okay, and everyone will be okay from that, and that person's one choice won't affect a lot of us. And so that's why I'm trying to just quarantine and get tested, just to make sure that I'll be okay and I'm not spreading it to anyone. So I went on a big tangent and soapbox there, but I just think like adding more negativity to it just breeds more negativity to it. And I know this is like, a lot of people want to have more control over what other people do or say, but at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. And people just want things to open back up and to move forward. They miss festivals and stuff. And so moving forward, I think there's a lot of things to iron out and to smooth out as festivals and live events come back. And I think we just all need to try and do our best and have some compassion for people on both sides. Have some compassion for the people that have been staying home, that have been staying safe, but then also have compassion for the people that have been doing all of that, but they just want to get out and have some fun, because it's been a stressful year. It's been a hell of a year for a lot of people. I only went to one drive-in, you guys. Like, I went to that one drive-in. I didn't really like it. I was kind of like, it was all right, not the same. And then I've been staying low-key. I haven't had a vacation in I don't know how long. I haven't even gone on a plane in over a year. And so, yeah, I went to a festival and I had a great time, and it is what it is. I kept my mask on. I stayed safe. I knew the risk I was taking, and now I know the precautions I need to take moving forward, and I'm going to document all of this so I can help others feel safe to go to these events and not feel so anxious. And if you do feel anxious, then stay home, you know, or get vaccinated, because that is the best chance to helping you be able to return back to some normalcy. I saw Biden tweet that out. If you want to return back to some normalcy, get the vaccine. It's free. It's easy to get to, you know? So, those are just some of like my initial kind of thoughts about everything. I kind of went all over the place, but it's just been weighing on me so much. And this is my platform to vent on to you guys, that it's very hard to open up Twitter and just see people wishing death upon people for attending a festival. And you know I can see the other perspective of like, you don't care about public health or public safety. And it's like, I mean, at some point, life has to return back to normal. And we know the people that are at risk and how to protect them. And that's what the vaccine is meant to do. And so we're all just trying to do our best. And I think that we just need to take a deep breath. Some final things just to wrap up. I wanted to talk about some pros and some cons, and then some personal lessons learned. So pros. Loved the venue and the layout. I think it was a really good job this year with the stages and the overall experience. Like, there was just so much to this festival that I don't even think I checked out everything. I thought it was a good job. Well done. I think I said that wrong. I would definitely be interested to check out camping, because I heard that was a great experience. The sets were amazing. Hearing live music again, seeing some of my favorite artists was amazing. Crowd, honestly, I was vibing with the crowd. I thought the crowd was super nice. There was a couple people that didn't say excuse me, but I had a great time with the crowd. I met a lot of you guys, and you guys were so sweet and just reminded me why I do this. So thank you for saying hi to me. If you did not get a chance to meet me, hopefully we can meet at another festival. Another pro was first festival with my boyfriend. We had an amazing time. We had some hiccups getting there and the hotel and everything, but just getting to hang out with him and have this whole side to our relationship now that we can have is just really amazing and beautiful. We got to know each other really deeply through the pandemic, and now we get to kind of just enjoy traveling and going to festivals now and stuff like that. So that felt really good to just be able to share that experience with him. As for some cons, mask enforcement, obviously. Need more trash cans, have better service for the Clear app. The health and safety entrance could have been a lot smoother. Security not checking things was a little bit concerning, but that might have been just because of COVID. They're not able to check as thoroughly. Logistics of parking could have been a lot better, and then some sound issues at some stages. There was some sound bleed, there was some echo. It just depended on where you stood, but as long as you picked a good spot, it didn't really matter. I noticed at like the VIP deck of Zoom room, there was a really weird echo that just did not sound great. So we didn't even hang out up there. Some personal lessons learned: check with your hotel before, book with the hotel directly. I am never booking with Expedia again. They were only able to give me a $25 voucher for the inconvenience, and I was livid, you guys. I should have stuck with my fits and just brought a jacket just in case. I wasn't supposed to wear the black pants that I wore on day one. I was supposed to wear something different for the bottoms, and I was also supposed to wear the colorful outfit on day one, but it all worked out. But I think I should have just gone with my gut and not let the weather kind of scare me into a different outfit. And then the docks ruined my feet day one. I thought they were broken in. I need to get some better socks for it to prevent blisters and rubbing and stuff. It did not go well. I got some blisters on my pinky toes, the back of my heels. We're going to fix it. It'll be fine because I love wearing my docks except for those blisters. And then the final lesson I learned, and this was something that I shared on my Instagram that was like a Q&A. This girl asked me, what is my number one festival tip for a newbie? And it just kept on reminding myself of this tip throughout the weekend. And I want to pass it on, is that there is only so much planning and things you can do to try and control to have the most perfect and amazing festival experience. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to let it ride out and it'll work itself out. There's only so much you can control. And for me, having that hotel situation, the parking situation, I just had to keep on reminding myself, I get to go back to a festival. I'm just going to enjoy it as much as possible. We did what we could to solidify a hotel. We did what we could to get there early. I just have to let it go and just move forward. And so I kept on reminding myself that, because I was really upset. Like, I hate screwing things up and I hate feeling like I messed something up, even though it wasn't my fault. I just had to keep on reminding myself, we did what we could to try and control and have the best time possible. And we just need to ride with it and just be present and just do what we can to enjoy our experience. And after that mindset switch and getting something to eat on day one, I had a way better time, and I was able to just like let go, enjoy the moment, be present with my boyfriend and my friends as we watched some of our favorite sets together. And then day two was just an amazing day from beginning to end. I have no complaints about it. And so, like I said, there's only so much planning you can do to try and have the most amazing, perfect festival experience. And sometimes it's not going to be perfect. You just have to let it go, ride it out, ride the wave, and it'll hopefully be okay. So I will leave you guys with that long podcast episode. Like I said, I was going in just to give you guys a full scoop and details. But if you guys have any more questions, feel free to comment it down below. There is a recap, which is a Spark Notes versions. There's the daily vlogs on my YouTube channel. Up next, we have Seismic Dance Event, and then I will be kind of off for a little bit. I don't have any festivals until Labor Day weekend. I'm hoping to go to ARC Music Festival. Then I will be at Imagine Music Festival. I'll be at Blended Music Festival here in Austin, which is a wine and music festival. And then I will be at Austin City Limits. And then I think that's it. There might be some more that EDC, EDC in October. And then we'll see what happens with November and December, honestly. So like I said, I'm feeling pretty optimistic and hopeful that there will be some lessons and some takeaways for future festivals to happen. So I hope this gives you some hope as well. It'll all be okay. We'll all get through this together, and we're all just doing our best. So thank you so much for tuning in and vibing with me today. Feel free to send this to a friend, rate, review, subscribe, all the things. I hope you are doing well. I am sending you some good vibes for your day. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay vibey, Vibe Tribe. Bye.